Roar!
Ew.
Chapter 3. An Interesting Night. It was almost 6 o'clock when Stephen walked into his empty house. Selina arrived shortly after, with bags of Chinese takeout in hand. Stephen was grateful she was there, so he could tell her about his day and get it off his chest. She had quite the to-do list herself that day, and told Stephen all about it in return. They chatted over the dinner for an hour or so before deciding to take a walk around their block. These walks, though usually quiet, were mutually relaxing. They arrived home around 9 o'clock and decided to watch a movie in Stephen's room. Stephen fell asleep halfway through while cuddling up next to Selina, who shortly followed after. Stephen blinked a couple times and realised he wasn't in his room. In fact, this place looked an awful lot like Fluttershy's cottage.
Lovely. This again.
Now, Angel Bunny, you really should go to bed. It's getting late.
Fluttershy's voice came from upstairs. Stephen looked up and saw a small rabbit hop down the steps with Fluttershy in a slow gallop behind.
Need any help?
Stephen asked. He watched as all at once the startled fear attacked Fluttershy's nervous system. It started with her mane sticking up straight, and her wings popping open. Her eyes widened immensely as she flipped over onto her back, legs sticking up straight into the air and squeaking like a goat. Stephen should have known better to call out to someone so timid like that. Although he felt bad for scaring her, he couldn't help but find her reaction funny. Suppressing a chuckle, he made his way to the stairs. Walking like this still felt awkward. He hadn't walked like this since he was in preschool and pretending to be a tiger with his friends. Even further, he didn't understand how, while being conscious of his dreaming, he couldn't wish himself to be able to walk bipedal.
I'm sorry about that. Are you okay?
Stephen asked as he struggled his way up the stairs. The little rabbit had met him halfway with a disgruntled expression and attempted to avenge Fluttershy by stamping on Stephen's hooves. Stephen ignored it and looked back at Fluttershy. From the way she stared at the ceiling, Stephen was worried he'd petrified her. After a moment, her irises came back to normal size and her brow relaxed.
Oh, it's you, Stephen. I'm sorry. You startled me.
I should be apologizing,
said Stephen as Fluttershy got to her feet and folded her wings down. Unsure of what to say, Stephen and Fluttershy stared at each other for a moment. Fluttershy lowered her head to her left. Her eyes shifted back and forth from Stephen's eyes to the ground. Perhaps a joke could get her to share and open up.
So, how's the weather?
Oh, it's fine. But if you don't mind my asking, how did you get in my house? I thought you left this morning.
I guess I did leave this morning. But you know as well as I do why I'm having the same dream twice.
But how can I be here if it's a dream?
Fluttershy asked before opening her wings and gliding to the bottom floor. A little nervous, Stephen tried to reverse his stepping and go back down the stairs. The unfamiliarity of being on 4 legs made this a challenging task that required focus and patience.
I think we should talk to my friend Twilight. She might know what's happening. That is, if you don't mind.
No, not at all,
Stephen said. He kept his eyes on the bottom of the stairs and shook as he struggled to maintain his balance.
Just as soon as I figure out how to walk. Lead the way.
Fluttershy waited patiently for him to arrive at the bottom of the stairs. When Stephen finally landed the last step, he shook some sweat off his face. Without a word, Fluttershy opened the door and Stephen followed her out. He followed Fluttershy over a bridge where a narrow stream ran across her yard and continued for a few minutes into the town. The town was small and seemed to be completely asleep. The whole time they walked, Fluttershy never said a word, but in the moonlight Stephen could see the alert deer-in-headlights expression in her eyes. When they reached a clearing in the town, the moonlight cast down on Fluttershy's hindquarters, and Stephen noticed 3 butterfly shapes on the side of her thigh.
That's a nice tattoo on your leg.
Stephen complimented an attempt to make conversation. Fluttershy's cringe and lowered head. Perhaps Stephen shouldn't have been looking. Or was it just normal reaction to any kind of attention from strangers?
Oh, I'm glad you like it. It's my cutie mark,
she said.
What's a cutie mark?
Stephen asked, picking his pace up just enough to be even with Fluttershy.
Every pony gets one when they realize their special talent.
What's your special talent?
My cutie mark resembles being able to communicate with animals. What's yours?
Stephen turned his head and tried to look at his hind legs.
Either there's not enough moonlight to see it, or I don't have one.
Concern raised in Fluttershy's voice.
You don't know what your special talent is?
Stephen thought about it for a moment.
I guess I just never thought of myself as having a special talent. I do customer service, for goodness sake. How much talent could that require?
Stephen decided he didn't like talking about this.
How close are we?
Oh, actually, we're here.
Fluttershy pointed up at the largest tree Stephen had ever seen. It appeared to have been hollowed out. The door, the light emanating windows around the trunk, and a balcony near the top gave the tree a very homely feel.
It looks like Twilight is still awake. That's good. I'd hate to wake her.
Fluttershy walked up to the door and knocked. Stephen let out a large yawn.
Alrighty then. Sounds good.
The door opened, revealing a purple pony with a horn on top of its head. It looked a lot like Fluttershy, so Stephen assumed it was a girl. Why the heck was Stephen's subconscious thinking this stuff up? Then the pony spoke.
Fluttershy, how are you doing?
The purple pony's pleasant voice was a breath of fresh air from Fluttershy's barely audible tones.
Hello, Twilight? Are you busy?
Fluttershy asked.
Not at all. Rainbow Dash and I were just doing a little evening reading together. What's up?
Fluttershy stepped to the side and glanced over at Stephen.
This is Stephen. He's the pony from last night I told you about. He might need your help. That is, if you're not busy.
It's not a problem at all.
The purple pony approached Stephen from the tree. She reached out her front hoof. Stephen maintained his balance as he put his hoof to hers, and they shook.
Hello, Stephen. My name is Twilight Sparkle. How can I help?
Not sure. Just tell me what's going on here.
Stephen asked with a shrug in his voice.
Here, why don't you two come in, and we can talk about it?
Stephen followed Twilight and Fluttershy into the tree. The tree was even bigger on the inside than it was on the outside. The whole thing had been hollowed out into nearly 3-story living space and a library. The sight was amazing.
Twilight, you've got to get over here and check out this part. It's so awesome.
A voice pulled Stephen's attention to the corner of the library. A blue pony reclined on a bean chair, with wings unfurled and a long, unkempt, technicolored tail hanging to the floor. She pulled her face up from deep within the book supported by her front legs. Curious magenta eyes looked directly at Stephen.
Hey, who's this guy?
Rainbow Dash, this is Stephen.
Is this the pony that Fluttershy told us ran out of the Everfree Forest and didn't know where he was?
Rainbow asked.
My reputation precedes me.
Stephen said with a dry tone.
He kept asking me where he was. I told him my cottage, Ponyville, and Equestria, but he didn't know where any of that was, or how he got in the forest.
Rainbow took flight from her beanbag chair.
Maybe he's got one of those memory-sucking brain leeches from Daring Do in the Bog of Nightmares.
I really doubt that.
Rainbow glided across the library and stopped to hover right next to Stephen. He backed up to claim his personal space when Rainbow tried to look in his ear.
I say we check him.
Rainbow, you're letting those books go to your head again.
Stephen's brain finally caught up to the situation.
Would it help if I told you I don't remember any leeches crawling into my ears?
It wasn't much of an input, but it would have to do, for now.
Not if they've already sucked out your memory of it.
Rainbow flung the door open and pointed outside.
Come on, Twilight. You know how some of these stories are based on real legends. Either check him, or we've got to get him to Ponyville Hospital.
Twilight groaned and her horn started glowing. Stephen looked around and noticed he was being surrounded with the same glow.
What are you doing to me?
Stephen asked, looking at his hooves.
This will only take a second.
A second later, Stephen's muscles and bones became visible through his skin. It was like looking at an X-ray photo of his entire body. Stephen was startled, to say the least. Suddenly becoming a full-body X-ray photo might do that to most people. He stayed perfectly still lest something more terrible than becoming transparent happens. But he couldn't stop himself from shouting.
What's going on? Someone help me!
See, Just as I told you, I don't see any brain leeches.
They are being too casual about the fact that Stephen looked like an autonomy model from college biology. Maybe there's nothing to worry about, but Stephen was not about to take that risk. Turning his head to the side, he found that it didn't hurt to move. As far as he could tell, that meant it was safe to move. He turned tail to run, but ended up making direct eye contact with two more ponies that happened to be passing by. Neither of them had wings or horn. One was bright pink and had an even pinker mane that curled in every direction. The other was orange and had a thick blonde mane, which was tied into a lazy ponytail and partially covered by a Stetson. This one was wearing a saddlebag over her back. Stephen stared at them for a moment. They stared at him for a moment. Stephen blinked, but during the time his eyes were closed, the pink one had shot about 10 feet and right through all of Stephen's barriers of personal space. With giant blue eyes no more than 6 inches away from Stephen's face, she giggled.
Oh, I've never seen a skeleton pony before! Where did you come from, Mr. Skeleton Pony?
She suddenly slid back a couple of feet, revealing the orange pony with a pink tail in her mouth.
Whoa there, Sugar Cube,
said the orange pony after dropping the tail.
I think it's just one of Twilight's spells.
Stephen stopped glowing and his innards ceased to be visible.
Hey, Pinkie Pie. Hey, Applejack.
Twilight called from behind Stephen.
What are you two up to?
The orange pony spoke up.
I just got done helping Pinkie Pie around Sugar Cube Corner again. We thought we'd stop by and see if you wanted any of the leftovers, but it looks like you're in the middle of something.
Rainbow Dash thought Stephen here might have a memory-sucking brain leech, so I had to check him.
Oh, okay then,
said the pink pony before giggling.
I should have known. A real skeleton pony would have been super duper scary. You must be new in town. I'm Pinkie Pie. It looks like you already met my friends. What's your name?
I'm Steven, and I'm not sure I can call this meeting your friends. I still don't know what the heck is going on here.
I think we should just move this little get-together inside. Don't you think, girls?
Twilight asked. Everyone nodded their heads and filed into the library. Stephen was the last one in. He could feel his face contorting with stress and confusion. This was going to be an interesting night. And a howling thank you to my Patreons.